got in store? Could you talk some more? I don't care what you say, so tell me it's okay. I don't want to know, just don't think about it. Could you reach way down inside of my throat and help me pull out all that's left? And if you get bored, well, okay, you'll never get a second chance. Climbing up the gym rope with my pants falling down, tricks with mirrors and smoke, electronic light show. Let the tea sit around, the basement's not flooding down to my knees, flooding down to my knees. The movement of all the trees, don't let it go away. The milk goes bad today, the expiration date is always in the last place.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it all go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
All right, good morning. It is that time of day. It is Friday. Unless you're at the International Dateline, I think it's Saturday. I don't know how that works. It could be. So if you're in the International Dateline, hope you're enjoying your weekend. All two of you. Good morning, everyone. Oh yeah, everybody's filing in here now. Very good. We got Miguel here. What's up, man? The Miguel, the quantum computer 5000 quantum computer. I'm still processing this morning. No, I just had him hidden. He scares me, so I have to pull him away. But then I forget I need to use this microphone. Just keep going, buddy. Yeah, tell your friends if you get any. Thank you, Miguel. Hello. I think we're okay now. You guys hear me now? I'm getting levels in here, so you should be hearing me. So we got I blame this motherfucker. You son of a bitch. Ooh. Okay, you get that. All right. We've milked that bit enough. Okay, Miguel, the 5000 quantum computer thing of Glaven, he's here. Global Solidarity is here as well. Yes, Connect Mike. Thank you. Appreciate you. Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show doing double duty on YouTube and on the Rumble. We have Gene is here. Gene, I do this weird thing where I combine the chats, right? So if you look like right down here at this little line right here at the top, that's all the chats from YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Little Caesars, Ace Hardware. Yeah. Good to see you. We got Around the World with D and Friends. D is here. Good to see you, D. She's got a show tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. I was lucky to co-host with her last week. That was a fun time. We had a great conversation. We also have Willie Bragg. Willie Bragg in the house. He's going to be on with Shane Coughlin tonight, talking about that MMT again. So that's the hot topic kids these days are talking about on the TikToks and the tweeters and the Instagrams and the thingies. Steve Woolbrand, greatest rock jock name ever, and Fingerman popping in to say howdy. Of course, we got the ladies, Teresa and Kate, over on the Rockfin. So yeah, okay, that's enough of that silliness. How's everybody doing today? Hey, you having a good Friday? Everything starting off. Kate had the let's see, where's Kate? Where she had her little coffee emoji thing there. You should say her eyes aren't open yet. There we go. Like the little coffee cup. Pee! Little coffee cup. Pee! Yes, I have coffee cup too. It's delicious. Full of hate and broken dreams. That's the sweetener. Folks, we have another jam-packed show for you. If I can get my shit together. And that's gonna be quite a mean feat. Because things good. Let me look over here. Oh, what's up? We got Prop lurking in the house too. Lurker, look, lurk who's talking. And we got our lurkers on Rumble too. So they never comment, but that's fine as long as you watch. That's all that matters. We have a lot to talk about here. Some of this election stuff, I know some of you are not too keen on. You can probably get that kind of information elsewhere, but this nice little chain of events here. So let's get to crack-a-lackin'. So this is from antiwar.com, Dave DeCamp. Be sure to check out antiwar.com. Make sure you check out their site. Share them on your social medias too. Help get the word out. So the U.S. is taking action over new claims of Russian election interference. Oh, it's an election year, so it's time to pull that rabbit out of the hat, right? The Biden administration on Wednesday took several actions over new unsubstantiated claims about Russian election interference. I wonder if there's no Bernie bro, like the buff Bernie memes. I haven't seen those, so I wonder what they could be talking about. Oh, thanks, man. Most of the actions targeted employees of RT, a Russian state-funded media outlet. The U.S. has accused RT of interfering in presidential elections since 2016, but what the U.S. has called interference has just been the media outlet's coverage of the election cycle. How dare you say things about the media stuff, Glavin, and do that. CNN reported earlier Wednesday that the administration was preparing to unveil several steps against election interference. And an RT spokesperson told the outlet 2016 called and wants its cliches back. That should be RO for real ones. Later in the day, the State Department announced it was taking 3 actions to hinder malicious actors from using Kremlin-supported media as a cover to conduct covert influence activities that target the U.S. elections in 2024 and undermine our democratic institutions. The first action was via restrictions imposed by the Treasury Department. The restrictions targeted 10 Russian individuals, including 7 RT employees. The State Department also said it was listing the Russian media group Rossiya Segovnia and its subsidiaries as foreign missions. The subsidiaries include RIA Novosti, RT, TV Novosti, Reply, and Sputnik. The third action announced by the State Department was offering up to $10 million as a reward for information on a hacking group known as Russian Angry Hackers Did It, or Rahedit. The State Department claimed the group previously engaged in election influence and in other countries and is a threat to the 2024 U.S. elections. Separately, the U.S. Department of Justice unveiled an indictment against 2 employees of RT who were accused of funding a Tennessee-based digital media group. We're going to talk about that in a second. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and get to it. So this from CNN. DOJ alleges Russia-funded U.S. media company linked to right-wing social media stars. No, this is not a reboot of the Three Stooges. This is Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and Tim Pool, who all work for Tenet Media. Yeah, look at these. Hey, handsome gentleman. This so clean cut. Look at that. He's Mr. Conservative. And they're these scruffers. What are you scruffing on there? You better shave up like this guy. What? The unnamed Tennessee-based company that the Justice Department alleges was being funded by Russian operatives working as part of the Kremlin-orchestrated influence operation targeting the 2024 U.S. election is Tenet Media, which is linked to right-wing commentators with millions of subscribers on YouTube and other social media platforms, according to a U.S. official briefed on the matter. The indictment unsealed in New York's Southern District accused 2 employees of RT, the Kremlin's media arm, of funneling nearly 10 million to the company described only as Company One in court documents. CNN independently confirmed that Company One is Tenet Media, which is a platform for independent content creators. It is self-described as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues, according to its website, which matches language contained in the newly unsealed indictment. The alleged Russian operation tapped 2 people to set up the company in their names to add to its legitimacy, and the 2 founders were aware Russian money backed the operation, according to the indictment. The goal of the operation, according to the prosecutors, was to fuel pro-Russian narratives, in part by pushing content and news articles favoring Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and others who the Kremlin deemed to be friendlier to its interests, which is kind of funny in our next story that's coming up. Among the commentators listed at Tenet's media website are right-wing personalities Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin. They all walked into a bar and people threw their glasses at them. That's not a joke. That's just a fantasy of mine. All have released statements saying they were victims of the alleged Russian scheme and they maintain editorial control of the content they created. Wink, 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 wink. Sure you did, buddy. Each has a loyal fan base online with a combined roughly 6 million followers on YouTube alone. Poole interviewed Trump on his podcast in May. Here we go. Let's see. Wednesday's indictment outlined how the American social media stars were hired by Tenet Media. Some of the creators were told the project was being bankrolled by a man named Edouard Grigorian. In truth and fact, the indictment reads, Grigorian was a fictional persona. Yeah, I think that might be like a Game of Thrones character. I'm not sure. The indictment outlines how one of the social media stars was approached by Tenet Media's founder with an offer of $2 million a year to make videos for the company. One of the founders later wrote it would need to be closer to $5 million yearly for him to be interested, according to the indictment. The social media star expressed some skepticism about who was funding the deal and asked for more information about Grigorian. Eventually, the social media star agreed on a contract of a $400,000 monthly fee to create 4 weekly videos along with a $100,000 signing bonus. I believe that was Benny Johnson guy that did that. Tenet Media's U.S.-based founders are not named in the indictment, but business records filed in Tennessee reveal 2 people connected to the company, Lauren Chen and Liam Donovan. A Twitter account for Donovan identifies him as the president of Tenet Media, and his Instagram account describes Donovan as Chen's husband. Let's see. Russia's state-controlled media RT lists Chen as a contributor for several articles in 2021 and 2022. She's also linked to the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA. As of yesterday afternoon, Turning Point US had deleted web pages featuring Chen. That's funny stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's CNN, so take it, as you will, but I just find it funny that particularly this guy in the middle, he is such a fucking asshole. He is such a cheerleader for bullshit on the right, So, if you're, and this probably goes out to my Rumble people, because there are a lot more conservatives on there. If you're watching this guy's show, this Benny Johnson guy, seriously, I mean, I can't attest for these two. I don't watch Tim Pool or what's his name, Dave Rubin. Sounds like every time I say his name, it sounds like a sandwich. But this guy in the middle, he's just pure trash. So anyway, just my opinion. Take it or leave it. But I like him. He's fun. He makes fun of people. He makes fun of those lefty boo 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 boo. Fuck off. Whatever. Which is all funny that Russia is funding these right-wingers, right? They're like the right-wingers. But according to Putin himself, he likes a little something else. So this from Al Jazeera. Putin says Russia will support Harris in the U.S. election. Russian President Vladimir Putin said in an interview that he will support U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris in the November presidential election.
Что касается фаворитов, то не нам это
Oh,
определять.
hang on a second. No English. So for all those just lurking and listening. So he says, as for the favorites in the U.S. elections,
Касается фаворитов, то не нам это
it is not for us
определять.
to determine that.
Это все-таки
It
выбор
is, after all, the
американского
choice of the
народа.
American people.
И,
I've already
ну, я
said the
говорил, у
favorite,
нас,
if I may say so,
значит, фаворитом, если можно так сказать, был
was the acting
действующий
president,
президент,
Mr.
господин
Biden.
Байден. Вот он,
But he was
его
withdrawn
сняли
from the
с
race,
гонки, но он
but he
рекомендовал
recommended
всем
that all his
своим
supporters
значит, сторонникам
back
поддержать
Mrs. Harris.
Ну, вот и мы тоже
So we will do the same. We will support her.
Это, во-первых, а во-вторых, заразительно смеется.
She has such an
что-
expressive and
что
infectious
это
laugh. It
говорит о том,
shows
что у
she's
нее всё
doing
хорошо.
well.
А если у нее все
I mean,
хорошо,
Trump,
то,
he's imposed more
то,
restrictions.
значит, вот Трамп, он же ввел столько количества
long
всяких
sentence. And
ограничений и
sanctions on
санкций в
Russia.
отношении России, сколько для него ни один
Than any
президент раньше не
president has
вводил.
ever
А если у госпожи Харрис
imposed
всё
before. And if
хорошо,
Mrs. Harris is doing well, maybe she will
может быть, она
refrain
воздержится от таких действий
from
подобного
doing
рода.
something
Но в
like
конечном
that.
итоге
Ultimately,
выбор
it's the
за,
choice of the American people,
американским народом, и мы
and we
с
will respect
уважением
that.
будем относиться к этому выбору.
I was talking to my buddy Ed about that, and we're pretty convinced that he's just talking shit, just to fuck with people, right? Because there's all this stuff coming out about like, well, the Republicans, look at the Republicans taking all this money, but then it's like Putin, she likes Harris. You so stupid, Poppy. Why do you say that? You stupid. So yeah, there's a little election fun for you. All these people talking shit and all this money going on, that's why you always got to pay attention, man. Always pay. When I look for a news source, first thing I do is I go to their about section, right? I want to see who's running the show, who owns the shit, all that good stuff. What's up, Bella? Good to see you. Ed Heller in the house too. What's up? Yeah, I know. It's just I don't know. I thought that was funny. Maybe you don't think that's funny, but I thought it was funny. And in this case, that's all that matters. So, and now back to our regularly scheduled news, already in progress. So, France is looking for a new prime minister, and seems like that's a pretty tall order, but they may have found their guy. France's Macron names former Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier as new prime minister. And there's the gentleman right there doing the Obama casual with the no tie. President Emmanuel Macron has named Michel Barnier, the European Union's former Brexit negotiator, as France's new prime minister after more than 50 days of a caretaker government. Macron held talks with the veteran politician at the Élysée Palace. Élysée? On Thursday. I probably butchered that. I know French fries. I could say that. Tasking him with forming a new government in the hope of ending weeks of political deadlock in the country that followed snap parliamentary elections. Macron's gamble to call the snap parliamentary election in June backfired, with his centrist coalition losing dozens of seats and no party winning an absolute majority. The left-wing alliance New Popular Front came first, but Macron ruled out asking them to form a government after other parties said they would immediately vote it down. Macron's centrist faction and the far right make up the two other major groups in the National Assembly. Barnier, a right-winger from the Republicans Party, has been all but invisible in French politics since failing to win his party's nomination to challenge Macron for the presidency in 2022. Right? But this guy thinks Macron ain't going to be hanging around that long either. Hey, what's up, Rick? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, Putin is BSing. Yeah, he was. You could tell he was trying to keep from laughing as he was when he said that infectious laugh. I was like, come on, dude. But you got to throw it in there because it's just funny, because it pisses off the right people. So, ex-French Prime Minister believes Macron will leave office early, according to Politico. There's the gentleman right there with a generic microphone in his hand. Former French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe believes President Emmanuel Macron may be forced to leave office before his term expires, Politico has reported, citing anonymous sources. Philippe, who led the French government between 2017 and 2020 and now serves as mayor of Le Havre, earlier this week announced his plans to vie for the country's top job in the next presidential election. Macron called a snap parliamentary vote in June following the poor showing by his centrist bloc. We told you about that. In an article on Wednesday, Politico quoted several unnamed senior members of the Horizons Party as claiming that Philippe expects Macron not to be able to hold out until the end of his term in 2027. The former prime minister reportedly instructed his party to be ready for a spring in 2025 as he considers that everything can move. In an interview with Le Point on Tuesday, Philippe made it clear that he would be a candidate for the next presidential election. When asked whether he would be ready in case of an earlier election, he said, "Yes, I confirm it." So, yeah. So this guy, he's like, Macron, watch yourself. Watch your beignets. I'm coming for you. That's not what he said. Sorry, a little sip. I tend to read this stuff too fast, and then everything gets dry. So, meanwhile, Volkswagen in Germany, and they've had their share of issues over the years, and now major cutbacks on the way. So, Volkswagen planning those cutbacks, according to the media. Volkswagen may close down at least 2 factories in Germany and end job security schemes as part of a cost-cutting drive, the conglomerate has announced. The car maker was the largest in the world by sales volume as late as 2017. Its own car, truck, and motorcycle brands such as Audi, Bentley, Lamborghini, Seat, Skoda, Porsche, and Scania, and Ducati. Oliver Bloom, chief executive of the Volkswagen Group, cited a difficult economic environment and failing competitiveness of the German economy among factors behind the decision. The situation is extremely tense and cannot be overcome by simple cost-cutting measures, VW brand head Thomas Schaefer said in a statement on Monday. According to management, Volkswagen also needs to end its job security program as part of the push to generate 10 billion euros, about 11 billion American, in savings by 2026. All measures need to be discussed with the Works Council, a trade union which has already vowed fierce resistance to the plan. So yeah, Volkswagen having a real one, as they say. Israel withholding information about themselves. Never heard of that. That seems like something that just can't really possibly happen, right? I'm being facetious. Israel withholds troops' testimonies on October 7th from the U.S. investigators. Israel allowed U.S. investigators to collect testimonies directly from witnesses who experienced the events of October 7th, but refused to allow testimony to be collected from Israeli soldiers for fear they could be tried for war crimes. Hapolis newspaper reported on September 5th, which was yesterday. The Hebrew language Haredi Daily reported that Lahav 433, a crime-fighting umbrella organization within the Israeli police, allowed evidence to be taken to the U.S. as part of the cooperation between Tel Aviv and Washington to file indictments in U.S. courts against senior Hamas officials. However, the state attorney and head of Lahav, Madi Levy, did not pass on any testimony collected from the approximately 700 soldiers interviewed. Testimonies were collected as part of the national investigation, but in view of the fear that the materials and testimonies of the soldiers would be used to prosecute them in the U.S. and also at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, their testimonies were not provided. The Daily added, Hamas attacked military bases and settlements on October 7th. Some 1,200 Israeli soldiers and civilians were killed in the attack. Some were killed by Hamas, while many were killed by Israeli forces using attack helicopters, drones, and tanks under the Hannibal Directive. Due to the Israeli military's use of heavy weapons, many Israeli civilians and soldiers were burned to death while being taken as captives by Hamas to Gaza or were buried under the rubble of their homes in the settlements. The soldiers' testimonies that were not sent to the U.S. could contain details about the Hannibal Directive. 2 and 2, put them together. As part of the investigation, the deputy legal advisor to the government, Gil Lehman, traveled to the U.S. about 2 months ago and held a meeting with the head of Lahav and the state attorney. On Wednesday, the Israeli police criticized the state attorney for not filing charges against Hamas leaders in Israel, as the U.S. had done, the Khan public broadcaster reported. Wow, yeah, so, we can't release that information because we've already got enough shit that we've helped ourselves, fuck our reputation. So we're not going to add war crimes to it. But trust me, we probably did war crimes. That's probably what they're saying. So I know, we reported, I think it was last week that, what's his name? The guy who runs Facebook, the guy who looks like Data from Star Trek. He said, they made me do all this suppressing and stuff like that. Well, I don't know. This seems like they're kind of loosening their rules, or maybe they're learning from that. Possibly. I wouldn't hold my breath, but from the river to the sea doesn't violate Meta rules. Oversight panel says. Meta's independent oversight board has ruled that the phrase "from the river to the sea," often used in solidarity with Palestinians, does not in and of itself violate the company's current policies. Which is kind of funny because when you do violate a policy on Facebook, they do not tell you which policy. Well, they tell you it goes against our community standards, but they don't tell you why or anything like that. So, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. The decision on Wednesday from the panel, which makes final determinations on the platform's content moderation decisions, followed a review of 3 posts. It comes amid a wider debate over the phrase, which has been prominently used by protesters in solidarity with Palestinians and against Israel's nearly 11-month war on Gaza. Of course, it refers to the geographical area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, which encompasses Israel, the occupied West Bank, and Gaza Strip. In upholding Meta's decisions to keep up the content, the majority of the board notes the phrase has multiple meanings and is used by people in various ways and with different intentions, otherwise known as common sense. Specifically, the 3 pieces of content contain contextual signs of solidarity with Palestinians, but no language calling for violence or exclusion, it added. So all these people that saying, when they say from the river to the sea, and then they get, these other people get so, I feel threatened. It's like, no, they just want to stop genocide. They don't really give a shit about you personally. So, so it's good to hear. But like I said, there's still censorship going on Facebook, and of course in other places too. One of the things about what's going on in Israel that people can do is to boycott, divest, and sanction, right? And you're starting to see some of that in America with some businesses who don't want to be associated with genocide. Ooh, imagine that. Well, there's a city now. The first city in the United States is actually divesting. So this, I believe, where is this from? Is this Common Dreams? Yeah, this is Common Dreams. So from Common Dreams, Maine's largest city becomes first on the East Coast to back Israel divestment. Lawmakers in Portland, Maine, voted unanimously on Wednesday to divest public funds from all entities complicit in Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip, making the city the first on the U.S. East Coast to take such a step. Sponsored by the Maine Coalition for Palestine and the Maine chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace, the newly approved resolution contains a divestment list of more than 85 companies from US-based Chevron, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing to Israel-based Elbit Systems. The list also includes public entities such as Israel Bonds and state-owned Israel Aerospace Industries. The city of Portland recognizes the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza and seeks to avoid economically supporting this crisis through the city's financial investments, the resolution states. The city council urges that the city manager divest the city of Portland from all entities complicit in the current and ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza and occupation of Palestine, including, without limitation, all entities on the divestment list when it is feasible and carries no financial penalty to the city. Additionally, the resolution urges the city manager to not make any future directly held general fund investment in any entities complicit in the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and occupation of Palestine. The Maine Coalition for Palestine said Wednesday's vote makes Portland the fourth U.S. city to adopt an Israel divestment solution. Two California cities, Hayward and Richmond, and Hamtramck, Michigan, passed similar divestment resolutions earlier this year. So Portland, so those were smaller towns, but Portland, you know, despite what you might believe, Portland is a bigger city than those places. What's up, Kim? Good to see you. Yay for Portland indeed. Divesting doesn't help much. Someone else will buy the stock. That's true, Steve, but you know, it's better than nothing, right? I was talking about this, and we're not going to be able to stop any of this stuff head on. You're going to have to use guerrilla tactics, right? And one of the things that you can do is stop buying their shit. It's affecting places like McDonald's and Starbucks, so who knows? Maybe too little, but it's better than nothing at all, I think. So the State Department has some documents reviewing arms sales to Israel that have been kept hush-hush, and now there's a lawsuit trying to get those documents some sunshine. So lawsuit seeks release of State Department documents reviewing U.S. arms sales to Israel. Let's see here. Democracy for the Arab World Now, Dawn, filed a complaint against the U.S. Department of State in a bid for it to release documents related to allegations of human rights abuses by the Israeli military. Dawn said yesterday that it had filed a complaint against the State Department in federal court in the District of Columbia to make the records public. The Leahy Law prohibits the U.S. from providing arms or military assistance to foreign militaries that violate human rights. The U.S. State Department has an Israel Leahy vetting forum as part of the law. In May, the State Department released a report which found reasonable grounds to believe that Israel on several occasions used American-supplied weapons inconsistent with international humanitarian law in Gaza, aka they were using weapons for genocide. However, the Biden administration said it would not make a definitive assessment and refrain from halting arms exports, of course, because he's told not to. Dawn filed a Freedom of Information Act request after the report was released, asking for documents related to the State Department's review and internal deliberations during the vetting process. The FOIA includes requests for documents going back 6 years and State Department reports related to Shireen Abu Akleh, a Palestinian-American journalist who was killed by Israel's military in May 2022. Lawsuits can be filed in federal court to release documents that have not been released through FOIA requests. We believe the documentation in question will demonstrate the double standard the State Department has been applying to Israel to avoid applying Leahy restrictions to Israeli units such as the notorious Netza Yehuda, Dawn Executive Director Sarah Lee Whitson said in a press statement. Netza Yehuda is an Israeli military unit made up of ultra-Orthodox Haredi men. In 2022, the unit came under fire after Omar Mohammed Assad, an 80-year-old Palestinian-American man, died of a heart attack following a violent detention at the hands of their troops. Eyewitnesses said Assad was handcuffed, gagged, and forced to lie on his stomach before being left in that position by departing Israeli soldiers. He was later found by the side of the road and pronounced dead from cardiac arrest. In August, the Biden administration said it would continue to provide military aid to the unit despite widespread allegations of human rights violations. So, yeah, and that's another thing. And Caitlin Johnston was talking about this in a post this morning. She said, yeah, you're not going to be able to stop these people head on, but you can whittle down the public by releasing more and more information, solid information, to counteract the propaganda that these people are using to cover up all this shit over there. Delicious. And of course, Israel being sneaky, and UK being shady. So all those who are from the UK, you know what I'm talking about. This is from Declassified UK. Arms for Israel secretly shipped through UK airspace. Over 50 tons of munitions have been flown to Israel over Britain since Gaza bombing began. And this, yeah, so. Arms for Israel have been quietly shipped through British airspace amid the genocidal war in Gaza, Declassified can reveal. Items sent on the Israeli-bound planes have included sniper ammunition, explosives for use in military aircraft, and detonators. The total weight of the cargo amounts to over 55 tons. All of the 8 flights identified by Declassified departed from JFK International Airport in New York, entering Britain's sovereign airspace over Wales and exiting it over Dover. The flights then passed through Liège, Belgium, before reaching their final destination in Tel Aviv. They were all operated by the Challenge Airlines Group, which has a base in Israel. Flights carrying dangerous goods or munitions of war through British airspace typically require special clearance from the Civil Aviation Authority. This indicates that the UK government has greenlit the passage of numerous arms shipments to Israel since the Gaza bombing began. Sam Perlow-Freeman of Campaign Against Arms Trade commented, ministers have made Israel's war crimes their own by allowing Israel to fly its loads of lethal equipment through UK airspace. The new information comes days after Britain's Foreign Secretary David Lammy finally acknowledged there was a clear risk that Israel might use imported weaponry to commit or facilitate a serious violation of international humanitarian law. Yeah, and that's when we told you about how they stopped like 30 of their 255 weapons licenses, I believe. And people were like, that's it, pussies. Meanwhile, Turkey, a delicious Thanksgiving treat, but also a country, is doing some shady shit as well. This is from the Cradle. Turkish firms use Palestinian customs as loophole to bypass Israel trade ban. That's Erdogan right there, the president. Turkish businesses have kept up exports to Israel via Palestinian Authority customs to get around Ankara's trade ban with Israel, according to statistical data from Turkish Exporters Assembly. The data released on September 2nd reveals a 423% surge in Turkish exports to Palestine in the first 8 months of this year. This marks a jump from $77 million in the same period last year to $403 million in 2024. Turkish exports to Palestine in the month of August rose by 1,156%, jumping from 10 million in 2023 to 127 million this year. Woo! It suggests that the trend of using Palestine to maintain trade with Israel has been accelerating, Middle East Eye wrote. A Turkish business source who was involved in facilitating trade between Ankara and Tel Aviv confirmed to Middle East Eye that the exports are reaching Israeli buyers despite the trade ban. As senior Turkish officials say in private gatherings, the government cannot fully track the final destination of Turkish exports since they have proper paperwork indicating they are destined to Palestine, the source said. The source added that the Trade Ministry or Customs aren't detectives that can investigate the final destination. The main issue for Turkey was to make a stance against Israel on the international stage, and they are still making a stance, which still counts. In May, Turkish President Erdogan announced a total trade ban with Israel until a permanent ceasefire in Gaza is reached. Oh, Turkey. Tisk, tisk, tisk. We told you about Jordan growing a pair of balls and finally stepping up and calling things what they are over there with their neighbors. So, this from Press TV. Amman warns against displacement of Palestinians to Jordan. And that's the Jordanian foreign minister, Ayman Safadi. So Jordan's foreign minister has warned that any Israeli attempt to displace Palestinians from the occupied West Bank to Jordan will be considered a declaration of war. Interesting. Safadi's remarks in a joint press conference with his German counterpart, Annalena Baerbock. I went Baerbock riding one time. I'm going to use the saddle next time. In Amman came as the forcible displacement of Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza to Jordan and Egypt, respectively, has been an Israeli goal for decades. Referring to Israel's largest incursion in the occupied West Bank in about 2 decades, Jordan's top diplomat said Israel is waging another war amid the regime's ongoing war on the Gaza Strip. He noted that the tensions in the West Bank could lead to a wider war in the region. Safadi noted that Amman is preparing a legal file regarding the Israeli incursions into holy sites in occupied Al-Quds, describing such raids as playing with fire that will burn the entire region. On October 13th, Israel's hawkish minister Itamar Ben-Gvir led hundreds of settlers into Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in the occupied East Al-Quds. So Jordan said, we're not playing anymore, yo. Do not bring them here. If you do, we will fuck your shit up. They probably would. And Egypt finally growing a little pair of balls, little tiny ones. This from Arab News. Egypt rejects Netanyahu's demand on Philadelphia corridor. Egypt has categorically rejected the statements issued by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on September 2nd, in which he insisted that Israeli forces must retain control over the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border, vowing not to give in to pressure over the issue in Gaza ceasefire talks. An Egyptian government spokesman accused Netanyahu of making the demand to distract Israeli public opinion, obstruct reaching a ceasefire and a hostage detainee exchange deal, and impede the mediation efforts being carried out by Egypt, Qatar, and the U.S. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis protested on Monday, and U.S. President Joe Biden says Netanyahu needed to do more after nearly 11 months of fighting. The issue of the so-called Philadelphia corridor on the southern edge of the Gaza Strip bordering Egypt has been a major sticking point in efforts to secure a deal to halt the fighting in Gaza and return Israeli hostages held by Hamas. Hamas has rejected any Israeli presence in the area. The spokesman said that Egypt holds the Israeli government responsible for the consequences of issuing such statements that further aggravate the situation and aim to justify the aggressive and provocative policies which lead to further regional escalation. Egypt, he says, has affirmed its keenness to lead the peace process in a way that achieves security and stability for all the region's people. Netanyahu's stance on the truce negotiations, which have been continuing for weeks, while showing little sign of breakthrough, has frustrated allies, including the U.S., and has widened a rift with his own defense minister, Yoav Gallant. So, there you go. So, Israel's neighbors are kind of saying, hey, look, this is, sorry, got a little, drank a little too much of the coffee, and now it's starting to talk back, so I got to chase it down with a little water. But yeah, that it's like people say, well, what can we do? When is this going to end? These guys in Israel are trying. It seems like they want a broader war, and the neighbors are just not having it. So the war on Palestine within the United States, education isn't just happening in college, but it's happening to the kids as well in the K through 12. This is from Mondeweiss. In May of 2024 congressional hearing, the Committee on Education and Workforce questioned leaders of 3 public school districts, New York City, Washington, D.C. suburbs of Montgomery County, Maryland, and Berkeley, California. Similar to earlier hearings that cross-examined the presidents of Harvard, Penn, MIT, and Columbia, the event was premised on pervasive anti-Semitism in U.S. education and a demand for accountability from its leaders. As NPR reported, the K-12 hearing did not net the headline moments that lawmakers enjoyed with the university presidents, which saw the leaders struggle to answer questions and which helped bring about the resignation of 3 of them. Yet, despite the lower profile of K-12 education in the current controversy over pro-Palestine speech in the wake of Hamas's attack on Israel, teachers are being punished for expressing what the lawmakers maintain is anti-Semitic rhetoric that makes Jewish students and fellow teachers unsafe. Like, from the river to the sea. I'm scared. But are the teachers actually anti-Semitic, as the lawmakers would have us believe, and whose safety is in fact in question? A deeper look into the allegation demonstrates a problematic definition of anti-Semitism and a tendency to punish immediately without due process, analysis, or care. Aaron Bean, Republican out of Florida, kicked off the hearing's questioning by asking the school's officials a series of yes or no questions, including, does Israel have the right to exist as a Jewish state? And does the phrase from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is that anti-Semitic? The officials replied in the affirmative. As such, the event immediately took as a given the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, which claims that it is anti-Semitic to deny the Jewish people their right to self-determination. In other words, by claiming that the existence of a state of Israel is a racist behavior. The IHRA definition, which is at present legally non-binding but under consideration as a bill in the Senate after being passed in the House, as well as touted by the U.S. State Department, has been criticized for being weaponized as a tool to suppress critics of the state of Israel by equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. And I believe that was at Columbia University. They're trying to push that through people who say anything bad about Zionists, that's anti-Semitism. Even the lead drafter of the definition, Kenneth Stern, has decried this weaponized use of his word. Several cases of teachers teaching hate were referenced during the hearing, and the school officials asked about actions taken to punish these employees. Representative Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York, for instance, questioned Chancellor of New York City Public Schools David Banks about Mohammed Ahmad, a math teacher at Gotham Tech High School in Queens, who on October 7th posted an image of a paraglider to his social media with the line, "I stand with Palestine." Stefanik held up a copy of the image proclaiming, "This is a Hamas paraglider who slaughtered Jews. We all have seen the horrific footage. Who cooked babies? These are terrorists." It must first be noted that Stefanik's reference to cooking babies is one of the many regarding Hamas violence against women and children on October 7th that have been debunked. And while Ahmad may have posted the image to his personal social media, his superior did not defend his right to do so or question Stefanik's one-dimensional interpretation. I think what that employee did was absolutely disgusting, and we took action, Chancellor David Banks replied. Yeah, so, you know, you talk about indoctrination. They're trying to get these kids, like they do in Israel. They teach them young. They teach them that everybody hates them, that, you know, they're the chosen ones. They're going to, you know, all this stuff that they fill these kids' heads with, and now they're trying to do that over here and trying to say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, which is bullshit. That's right, Gene. They don't want schools to promote critical thinking and knowledge of current events. That's right. Think for yourself. What the hell is that about? That's crazy talk. Delicious. Meanwhile, in Buenos Aires, they're having some fun down there, as protests are going on and police crackdowns too. Delicious. So from the Buenos Aires Herald, deputies walk out on chief of staff amid police protest crackdown. Guillermo Francos was addressing the chamber when around 100 walked out in solidarity with protesting retirees facing security forces outside. Peronist and left-wing lawmakers interrupted an address by Chief of Staff Guillermo Francos in the Chamber of Deputies on Wednesday, leaving their seats in objection to the police crackdown on retirees outside the House. The abrupt exodus of around 100 deputies meant that the session fell through. Police were using tear gas, pepper spray, and batons to thwart a demonstration spearheaded by retirees protesting against Javier Milei's presidential veto on a pension increase that was approved by both chambers. The vetoed formula, which was going to set a minimum stipend of 109% of the basic food basket, would have increased retirees' monthly payments by Argentinian $15,000, and that would be $15.1 US and 11.7 at the MEP rate. I don't know numbers. To 321,600 Argentine, and then 324 and 253 respectively. Francos, who was doing a legally mandated administration report, he was set to answer 2,135 questions from lawmakers. Wow, good luck with that. Defended Milei's veto on the increase. The sanction of the bill that establishes modifications to the pension mobility system is not a mature and responsible act, Franco said during his presentation. It establishes exorbitant expenses without the corresponding budgetary item. It is an expense that, due to its cumulative effect, would increase year after year, condemning the country to more emissions, debt, inflation, and poverty. According to a report by the Congress's Budget Office, the update would have implied spending 0.45% of the country's GDP over the year. In an interview, Milei said the extra spending would be 62% of GDP, but making calculations in perpetuity. Francos highlighted the president's mega decree and the approval of his flagship reform project known as lay bases and the fiscal package in June. The lay bases, together with the mega decree and the fiscal packages, give freedom back to the Argentine people, promotes private security, attracts investments, and generates jobs, says Francos. Where there was uncertainty, now there was legal certainty, predictability, and stability for those who produce. Where there used to be governmental maneuvering, now there's certainty that the rules of the game will not be changed for investors. One of the questions that Francos answered was the total expenses, Milei's numerous trips abroad in his first 9 months as president. In the written report he sent to the deputies ahead of the presentation, the chief of staff said those trips cost $2.3 billion Argentine money. That's like 2.3 million US. And yeah, they're just doing some exchange right there. Media showed that outside Congress, national security forces such as the naval police and federal police, as well as the city police, were participating in the crackdown. Images of people sitting on fences on the sidewalk, their eyes closed and their faces burning from the pepper spray, circulated on social media. One of them was interviewed by the C5N TV channel. When asked if he had been hit, he answered negatively, no, because they are cowards. They are hitting the oldest people. Speaking with media outlets outside Congress, the chief of the emergency operations said that they treated 27 people, and 2 were transferred to the Jose Maria Ramos Mejia General Hospital. He added that 8 journalists were affected by the pepper spray. So, yeah, that's Elon Musk's boy, Milei, calling him a great leader. Austerity measures, right? Austerity. That's worked so well. Austerity has, because all it really does is just fuck with the people. It doesn't really solve anything. And, yeah, so it's just a way to please donors too. Colombia truckers, they're on strike, or at least they're protesting. They threaten fuel supply, state oil company operations. Woohoo! So remember the truckers strike in Canada, right? So now they're doing it down there in Colombia. Protests by truckers in Colombia who are angry at an increase in diesel prices have cut off the country's biggest cities and are threatening fuel supplies, though the government insists the hike is fair. Of course they think it's fair. The trucker strike and roadblocks combined with attacks on the Cano Limon Covenas and Bicentenario pipelines also threaten operations at state-run oil company Ecopetrol, the company said on Wednesday. The truckers are protesting an increase of 1,904 Colombian pesos, 45 U.S. cents per gallon, to diesel prices, which began on Saturday, arguing the price rise will affect logistics costs and national competitiveness. The National Transporters Association, one of many industry groups, said it had not called a national strike but supported the truckers' protest. We respect the right to protest, which comes from the bad decisions taken by the government in the last 2 years and which have pushed transporters to raise their voices in ways other than dialogue, the ANT said in a statement posted on the tweeters. Leftist President Gustavo Petro has said the increase is fair and that a subsidy in diesel prices should never have been granted, adding that the country will not allow itself to be blockaded. Finance Minister Ricardo Bonilla said on Tuesday the increase is necessary because diesel prices have been held at an average of around 9,065 pesos per gallon for more than 4 years. Government subsidies cost 1 trillion pesos per month, Bonilla said, adding the cost was unsustainable. Production of hydrocarbons could be affected in the coming days and may affect fuel supplies. Ecopetrol said in a statement, adding that the situation is compounded by social conflict at the company's Gibraltar gas field. In a later statement, Senate reported a new attack on the Cano Limon Covenas pipeline, adding that 15 attacks had taken place against pipeline infrastructure around the same area since August. Colombia's biggest cities were cut off from the rest of the country by road blockades on Wednesdays as mayors warned of food and fuel shortages. We're really affected. The majority of our producers are cut off in the outskirts of Bogota, so this week the situation will be very tough, said Gene Sutter, founder of fresh produce delivery company Finca en la Nube, who added that many products would be spoiled. However, Sutter said he understood why truckers were protesting. I totally support the protest. See? I keep telling you, the truckers are the lifeblood of this country. And they could shut things down too. So if you say, well, the trucking unions and their union bosses, they won't let that happen. And that's the thing I keep saying. They need them to do wildcat strikes, but the biggest thing and the hardest part, I think, is the mutual aid that's needed to help back up these strikers, because they know there's a pool of money to help them out. They'd probably be more willing to strike, because a lot of these people have families they got to feed, and they got mortgages and rents to pay and stuff like that, just like the rest of us. And so you say, well, why don't they just strike? Why don't they all just stop what they're doing and strike? Because they need to eat. They need to live while they're striking. So that's one thing we're going to have to figure out sooner or later, is how to get the mutual aid to them. Once we figure that out, then everything is just going to take off. Okay, Gene, you're taking off too. Appreciate you. You can catch the replay for the rest of the stuff. We're almost done here. Getting close. Meanwhile, in Mexico, their legislature is moving ahead with judicial reforms despite protests. Protests all over the place. A judicial overhaul championed by Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, or AMLO, not to be confused with Amway, which is a horrible pyramid scheme, has cleared its first legislative hurdle, with Mexico's lower house passing a reform package despite widespread protests. The vote on Wednesday was also held during an ongoing strike by federal court employees, justices, and magistrates. Critics have warned the bill would erode the independence of the judiciary, particularly through a provision that would see federal justices elected by popular vote and would fail to address the actual issues plaguing the system. Opposition legislator Paulina Rubio Fernandez summed up that sentiment before the vote, which was conducted after lawmakers were forced to meet in a gymnasium as protesters blocked entrance to the Congress building. We should inaugurate a wall of shame that says today begins the fall of our republic, and it should have the date and all the faces of the Morena congressman, Rubio Fernandez said, referring to Lopez Obrador's Morena party, which has a supermajority in the Chamber of Deputies. The measure passed 359 to 135 in an initial party line vote. It later received final approval to be sent to the Senate for further debate. Because the bill includes constitutional changes, supermajority votes are required in both chambers. The Morena party is one seat shy of a supermajority in the Senate, but the bill is expected to eventually pass. Wednesday's vote caps months of promises by Lopez Obrador, or AMLO, to push through the judicial overhaul before his 6-year term ends this month. The leftist leader, who maintains widespread popularity in Mexico, will be replaced by Morena loyalist Claudia Sheinbaum, who has also defended the reforms. So yeah, people protesting all over the place and making their voices heard. It's a theme, folks. I know it's hard to do, but it is something that's necessary. So Iran is weighing in on how the U.S. scooped in and stole Maduro's plane. It's from Press TV. U.S. seizure of Venezuelan president's plane contradicts international law, according to Iran. There's the plane in question. Iran has condemned the United States seizure of a plane belonging to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro over alleged sanctions violations, saying the unacceptable move contradicts international law. The U.S. Justice Department said on Monday the country had seized the plane used by Maduro and flown it from the Dominican Republic to Florida. It claimed that the plane had been purchased in violation of U.S. sanctions. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani said yesterday that the unilateral coercive move by the U.S. is in violation of international law and will foment chaos and promote hijacking. The U.S. move also poses a threat to international aviation security and safety, he added. He reiterated the need to respect international regulations, saying Iran regards the recent U.S. unacceptable move as a contravention of rules and norms of international law, particularly the immunity of the country's properties and the Convention on International Civil Aviation, also known as Chicago Convention. Not to be confused with the DNC Convention. That was a couple of weeks ago. The Iranian spokesman voiced Tehran's support for Venezuelan government's measures to protect its public property. Kanani also stressed the importance of improving cooperation among countries to confront the U.S. sanctions and unilateral coercive measures. Maduro, a former bus driver who became president following the death of his mentor Hugo Chavez in 2013, was reelected in 2018 despite the U.S. orchestrated opposition. Yeah, so, I mean, it's bizarre, right? I mean, he wasn't on the plane, but still, you know, that's the U.S. being the strong arm, doing what Israel's doing, just like doing whatever the hell they want until people, call them out on him. So I know a lot of you out in the West are dealing with heat, right? It's pretty hot out there. I know some of you chicks out there, I blame you. Kitty likes to scratch. No, it's fucking hot. We did a story, I think on Wednesday about Arizona. It's 100th day of having 100 degrees or more temperatures. Yeah, so this is probably a trend around the world. So record summer temperatures set world on course for hottest year ever. Summer temperatures in the northern hemisphere were the highest ever recorded, making it likely that this year could emerge as Earth's hottest ever, according to the European Union's Climate Change Monitor. Data from the Copernicus Climate Change Service, C3S, on Friday followed a season of heat waves around the world that scientists said were intensified by human-driven climate change. So, During the past 3 months of 2024, the globe has experienced the hottest June and August, the hottest day on record, and the hottest boreal summer on record, said Samantha Burgess, director of C3S. This string of record temperatures is increasing the likelihood of 2024 being the hottest year on record. Although 1984 was pretty hot. There was a lot of great music that came out, good movies. It was pretty hot. Culturally hot, but not temperature hot. Heat was exacerbated in 2023 and early 2024 by the cyclical weather phenomenon El Nino, which I saw live at the Civic Center with special guest Crocus, which warms the surface waters in the eastern Pacific Ocean, though C3S scientist Julian Nicholas said its effects were not as strong as they sometimes are. Meanwhile, the contrary cyclical cooling phenomenon known as La Nina has not yet started, he said. Conversely, moving against the global trend, regions such as Alaska, the eastern United States, parts of South America, Pakistan, and the Sahel Desert in northern Africa had lower than average temperatures in August, said the report. The planet's changing climate continued to drive disasters this summer. We talked about in Sudan, the flooding from heavy rains last month affecting more than 300,000 people and brought cholera to the war-torn country. Elsewhere, scientists confirmed climate change intensified Typhoon Gaini, which tore through the Philippines, Taiwan, and China in July, killing more than 100 people. And also the flooding that in China and in North Korea too, as well. Me soul on fire, feeling hot, hot, hot. Yeah, I know. It's our buddy Kevin at Black Bear News. He was having a time, because he's over there in the Southwest, and they're just, that heat there is just unbelievable, and it's still going on too. And finally, good news if you like a shit ton of plastic, and who doesn't? This is from Africa News. World pumps out 57 million tons of plastic pollution a year. So, this is a garbage dump, I think, in Nairobi. New study by the University of Leeds, published in the journal Nature on Wednesday, has found that the world creates 57 million tons of plastic pollution every year. It spreads from the deepest oceans to the highest mountaintop to the inside of people's bodies, and more than 2/3 of it comes from the global south. Researchers used AI to model waste management in more than 50,000 municipalities around the world. This allowed the team to predict how much waste was generated globally and what happens to it. Researchers examined plastic that goes into the open environment, not plastic that is taken to landfills or is properly burned. They said that for 15% of the world's population, governments failed to collect and dispose of waste. This is a big reason why Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa produce the most plastic pollution, with Nigeria's Lagos emitting the most of any city. The other biggest plastic polluting cities are New Delhi in India, Angola's capital, Luanda, Karachi in Pakistan, and Egypt's Al-Qahira. Nigeria is also one of 2 African countries in the top 10, sitting at number 2, with the Democratic Republic of Congo at number 10. According to the study's data, the top 8 nations are responsible for more than half of the globe's plastic pollution. Lead researcher Dr. Costas Velis from Leeds School of Civil Engineering said the world needs to start focusing more on tackling uncollected waste. We shouldn't put any blame on the global south, and we shouldn't praise ourselves about what we do in the global north in any way, he said. Velis said it was just a lack of resources and ability of governments to provide the necessary services to citizens. Researchers say the study shows that access to waste collection should be seen as a basic necessity and a vital aspect of sanitation alongside water and sewerage services. The United Nations projects that plastics production is likely to rise from about 440 million tons a year to more than 1.2 to 1,200 million. That's like 1.2 billion tons, saying our planet is choking in plastic. Especially the microplastics, right? They're everywhere. They're inside of us. They're in foods. And when I heard that, that just scared the shit out of me. I was like, really? You plastic and everything, and you wonder why people are having these weird health problems. And of course, I always talk about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in the northern Pacific there, that's about the size of Texas, and it's just a layer of microplastics. It's scary shit, y'all. Speaking of scary, you remember when you got the shit scared out of you from the COVID people? Yeah, well, they're finally admitting a lot of the shit that you take, the jibby jab, yeah, maybe not so good.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets saying things are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is from the Daily Mail. COVID jab offers barely any protection from infection after 6 months. Latest data shows. Water wet, sky blue, film at 11. COVID vaccines prevent less than 1 in 10 infections 6 months after they're administered, a study has found. New Zealand researchers came to their conclusion after assessing data from over 5 million people from December 2020, when the jabs were first deployed in the country, to February last year. Of these, 4 million were vaccinated and about 1 million never got a COVID vaccine, with jabbed persons being matched by age and sex to an unjabbed counterpart. Scientists then assessed the jab's effectiveness against a variety of different COVID outcomes, including against infection, hospitalization, and death, using patient data. Publishing their findings in the New Zealand Medical Journal, the researchers assessed outcomes based on people getting the second COVID booster. Look at that. Delicious. While the jab was found to offer sustained protection against deaths from the virus, protection against infection was found to drop off dramatically. In the first month, people got the jab is found to stop 57% of infections. Oh, yeah, that's a great number in itself. But this dropped off to just 9.9% 6 months later. Jab-based protection against becoming hospitalized due to COVID was better, though a significant drop-off was also recorded. Vaccinated persons enjoyed an 82% protection against hospitalization with the virus in the first month after getting it, but this declined to just 49% by month 6. The authors noted that there were no COVID deaths in the vaccinated cohort who got the second booster. A comparative analysis on this outcome wasn't possible. This is not the first study to have found COVID vaccines decline in effectiveness over time. The exact figure depends on the stage of the global pandemic, which variant was circulating at the time, and can also vary by brand. One American study in 2021 found COVID jabs used in the U.S. fell from 85% effectiveness against the infection to some 50% in 6 months. A Qatari study, again from 2021, even found Pfizer's COVID jab was only 20% effective at stopping people getting infected after 6 months. COVID vaccines, which brought an end to the paralyzing lockdowns, lose their protective power due to 2 factors. First, the initial flood of antibodies designed to target the COVID virus, which are produced by the body, fades over time, though experts say some longer-term protection persists. Secondly, the virus itself evolves over time. New variants evolve with slight differences. That means they are better able to dodge the protection jabs, which were designed to combat older strains of COVID. This is why updated jabs designed to target new, now more widely circulating strains of the virus have been used in subsequent COVID booster campaigns. So, and as you may know too, they changed the definition of a vaccine around 2021, I believe, where vaccines say that they're supposed to prevent you from getting the shit, period, like the polio vaccine, to where it was say it would help stop infections and keep you from going to the hospital, but it wouldn't stop you from getting it. Yeah, and now it seems like, well, you know, after 6 months, we told you the other day how, like, if you're uninsured, the vaccine is going to cost you just only $200, and apparently that's what they're counting on after 6 months. Oh, you got to top off. You got to top off. So like every 6 months, you're filling yourself up with this bullshit. We talked earlier in the show about how Israelis are propagandized from the womb to the tomb, and and this is just an example of this. From Middle East Eye, majority of Israelis want censorship of social media posts sympathetic to Palestinians in Gaza. 70% of Israelis say videos or images of violence depicting the war should be censored. Wow, why is that? A new poll released by the Pew Research Center found that the majority of Israelis, 59%, are in favor of censoring social media posts that show sympathy to Palestinian civilians in Gaza amid Israel's war on the besieged enclave. An even larger majority, 72% of Israelis, say posts that include videos or images of violence in the war should be censored. Israel has been waging war on Gaza since October 7th, 2023. You know the thing. So Israel. Nothing to see here, folks. Just don't mind us. Meanwhile, at UCLA, this is from the Daily Bruin. I think that's their newspaper. U.S. announces new time, place, and manner. UCLA, announces new time, place, and manner policies, limits public expression areas. Remember George Bush's First Amendment zones that they were going to have outside the RNC convention. So UCLA announced new regulations governing campus protests Wednesday. Administrative Vice Chancellor Michael Beck and Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs Monroe Gordon Jr. announced new time, place, and manner regulations in a Bruin Post announcement. Although the new policies are effective immediately, on an interim basis, they will be open for public comment until November 4th. The policies include a requirement for people on campus to identify themselves when asked to do so by university officials. Papers, please. Something introduced across the UC. The new regulations also include a new definition of publicly accessible spaces, limiting areas for public expression activities, including leafleting, picketing, speeches, petition circulation, and non-commercial literature distribution to areas around Bruin Walk and outside Murphy Hall. Separate rules exist for events that receive administration approval 10 days in advance. Public expression activity organizers will also be required to obtain permission to demonstrate in Bruin Plaza because of potential conflicts with organized club activities. The plaza, an approved space, was the site of several rallies during the United Auto Workers Local 4811 strike in the spring. Dixon Plaza, giggity, where protesters established the first Palestine Solidarity encampment at UCLA, is not included in the list of areas where public expression will be permitted. Kirchhoff Patio and Dodd Hall, where protesters also attempted to encamp, are also not approved spaces for public expression. The areas for public expression will permit any member of the campus or outside community to protest without needing permission, provided they do so between 6 a.m. and midnight and do not otherwise disrupt campus activities. Several regulations appear to be aimed at preventing encampments, which UC President Michael Drake banned in an email to the UC community on August 19th. The rules include a ban on the use of tents and camping equipment, new restrictions limiting the distribution of food, and the closure of campus walkways between midnight and 6 a.m. Protesters are not permitted to use graffiti or chalk on university property, which pro-Palestine protesters had done back in the spring. So, UCLA crack-a-lack-a-lacking down. Those liberal colleges. Meanwhile, in Canada, we got a big propaganda block, by the way. Meanwhile, in Canada, they're kind of predicting those Nazis up there. Canada publishing Nazi list would aid Russian propaganda, Ukraine says. So here's this guy, this sleeping Nazi, as he's called. The Library and Archives Canada, LAC, has received several requests advising against disclosing the names of 900 alleged Nazis residing in the country, compiled by 1986 War Crimes Commission. The Canadian institution decided to hold off on the list publication after consulting with multiple stakeholders, money people, in fear of aiding in Russian propaganda against Ukraine. The stakeholders expressed concern about the implications of associating Ukrainian names with Nazis. Okay. Asserting it would justify Russia's military operation in Ukraine, the Globe and Mail reported, citing a LAC report. The Canadian newspaper is one of the organizations urging the LAC to release the names. The LAC was reportedly informed that Moscow could use the list to further these allegations or conduct misinformation campaigns in Canada, potentially affecting Kiev's public support during its ongoing war with Russia. A few stakeholders were concerned that the release of the report would result in new legal action, criminal prosecution, citizen revocation, or otherwise being brought against the individuals named in the report, according to a LAC memo released by the Ottawa Citizen on Wednesday. Which leads me to think, hey, I bet you the stockholders, I bet they're Nazis too. Shh. Don't tell. And finally, folks, when you've lost the trust and faith of 80s kick-ass martial artist Steven Seagal, you know you've lost the narrative war altogether. So Steven Seagal, it says, U.S. is hiding the truth by pushing anti-Russia disinfo. And here he is waiting to get his goatee trimmed at the barber. Washington's attempts to silence Russian media ahead of the 2024 U.S. presidential election are intended to hide the truth from the American people, according to action movie star Steven Seagal. On Wednesday, the U.S. Treasury announced a new round of sanctions against Russian media figures, as we reported, for allegedly waging a malign government-sponsored influence campaign to manipulate American public opinion ahead of the country's presidential election in November. Speaking on RT on Thursday, Seagal said that this is not the first time Washington has done something like this and will likely do so before every election because they're very afraid of the truth and they are highly cognizant of the fact that they are engaging in skullduggery that is going to be exposed. The actor went on to say that most Americans have been waking up to the fact that they are constantly being lied to and manipulated by their own government and media, and provided the example of U.S. President Joe Biden, who can't complete a sentence and can't walk without falling down. Find the lie! White House officials, as well as most legacy media outlets in the U.S., have for years dismissed concerns of the aging president's physical and mental health. Seagal believes the U.S. disinformation machine is designed for the sole purpose of destroying the image of Russia and its people, and that misinformation and propaganda are the only tools Washington has left at this point outside of staging a coup in the country or deposing its leader. So Russian officials also weighed in on the targeting of RT and other media channels with Moscow's ambassador to Washington, Anatoly Antonov, suggesting that the Democrats are trying to shift some of the blame for their mistakes during the electoral struggle to Russia and justify their actions by using lies and trying to discredit Russian media. Their goal is clear: to cleanse the information space of inconvenient truth, to thicken the atmosphere of Russophobia, blaming their own failures on external factors, Antonov said. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said the measures point to the irreversible degradation of democratic values in the U.S. and its transformation into a totalitarian neoliberal dictatorship. Steven fucking Seagal. I never would. When I read that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Really? I mean, there's more stars that have spoken out against Israel and against Ukraine, but this where they say from the mouths of babes, but you know, this guy is no babe. All right. So maybe the chicks think so, but, you know, maybe, you know, he's better than, what's his name? Walker, Texas Ranger. Mr. Proud to be an American, where at least I know my propaganda is free. Is that it? That is it. We're done for the day. Holy crap. An hour and 37 minutes. We do have a usually a little bit longer countdown on the mornings of Friday. A little extra music for you to start your weekend. Also, to start your weekend, we got more shows tonight. I believe Willie Braggs is going to have Shane Coughlin on again tonight on his channel, talking about MMT. So if you're into that, be sure to check out Willie and Shane tonight. Also, this broad, she's going to finally be here tonight for ExtraBulla Live with Uncle Warren. That's me. And Lucy, we're going to try and fix her camera too, where she doesn't look like a Jesus candle. Holy crap. Come on, lady. She got the big light behind her head. I'm like, what am I in a bodega? What the hell's going on here? He's selling me this shit. Fingerman, what's up, buddy? Yes, right, Friday. And of course, Around the World, D and Friends tonight as well on the YouTubers. Be sure to check her out and like, share, and subscribe to all these programs. Right now, they're free. You know, if you want to make a donation, you can do that as well. All our donation links are below. If not, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. If you're looking for just straight news, hardly any opinion. I can't say 0% opinion because some of this shit, of course, I'm going to comment on a little bit, but I'm not going to spend like all day on it because I want to get more news out to you. I want to get more information. News you can use. Even Steven Seagal news, if you can believe that. Might do some gaming this weekend. My buddy Franco is going to have another video coming out pretty soon. He's been doing a lot of good work trying to help people do self-betterment, you know. And I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of times we get caught up, you know, worried about all this manipulation and all this crap that's going on in the world, and we forget to take care of ourselves, mentally especially. So be on the lookout. Check out his channel, Frank Analysis, and he's doing good work over there too. Thank you everybody for on YouTube and the Rockfin and my Rumblers, my Rumbler lurkers. You know who you are. Love and appreciate every one of you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you when we see you, okay? Bye!
This is City Alpha 5! Woo! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.